I'm Chris King. Coming up in sports, if you have any college eligibility left, start warming up. The Cougar football team needs you. I'll tell you just what I mean right after the break. Good evening and welcome to the Spokane Arena tonight. I'm Chris King for the rubber chicken matchup between the Lewis and Clark Tigers and the Ferris Saxons. A new face at spring football practice has the right combination of pedigree and experience that has Cougar coaches high on his future. Here's what we know right now on this breaking story. First off, Tony Bennett has left WSU after 3 years as the Cougars coach. Bennett has accepted the head coaching position at the University of Virginia. And that, guys, turned out to be Tony Bennett's last game at WSU, and Randy Bennett beat them. And now we'd like to bring in Michael Preston, a CougZone.com staff writer. And Michael, first off, just from a student perspective, what has been your reaction to today's news? It will be a special day here Saturday when the Cougars take on Arizona State. It's senior day, and one of the 5 seniors that's being honored is Ryan Bailey. Bailey, the 6'7" forward, went from not even starting a game on his high school team to walking on and playing 4 years at WSU. Bailey began his Cougar career after surviving an open tryout during Dick Bennett's last year as head coach. Bailey suits up for all the home games and even went on the road with the team for the NCAA tournament the last 2 years. Bailey does most of his work in practice, though, guarding the likes of Aaron Baines and D'Angelo Casto in the low post. Bailey's years of hard work have not gone unnoticed by Cougar coach Tony Bennett.
He's the consummate team player, and from the moment he came to his first walk-on tryout, he just wants to help the team, and he'll do whatever you ask.
Bailey's hard work has paid off in playing time on 4 occasions during his 4-year career. Bailey scored his only career points earlier this year by tipping in a shot against Mississippi Valley State. Altogether, Bailey has 11 minutes of career playing time with 4 rebounds and 2 points. Although his playing time has been scarce, Bennett says it is a thrill for himself to reward Bailey with game action.
I always love to be able to call his name, and he kind of gives you that look like, me, you sure? Yep, and usually goes in there, and it's his goal to try and tries to jack one up a game or get in the stat count.
With senior day coming up on Saturday, Bailey realizes what a special honor it will be.
It's just cool. I mean, it will just be fun getting the recognition, I guess, because, I don't know, there's probably people that don't even know I'm on the basketball team. I'm not a very recognizable face.
As nice as the ovation from the crowd will be, Bailey already knows what will be his highlight of Saturday.
To be able to shake Tony's hand out there on that midcourt and know that I gave my all these last 4 years and I've really helped out the program.
As far as life after basketball, Bailey says his ultimate goal is to get a master's in educational psychology so he can become a high school counselor and eventually coach high school basketball. Reporting for Cable 8 News, I'm Chris King. Cougars strapped on their helmets for the first time in nearly 4 months as spring practice began Thursday. The sun was shining over Rogers Field as WSU took their first steps towards rebounding after last season when they finished with a 2-11 record. The Cougars are still recovering after 25 players coming into the spring went under the knife and had surgery in the offseason. Despite his team's health issues, head coach Paul Wolf feels there's a lot to be gained this spring.
We still got a lot of players that we can do real well with and function. So, you know, some of those guys will miss some practice, but we still got a lot of players. We're going to have an opportunity to get a lot better.
One of the players bouncing back from surgery is quarterback Marshall Lovestall, who will throw in some drills but will not play in scrimmages. The Cougars have 15 practices this spring and will put the pads on for the first time on Monday. While the Cougars were fiery at the first practice on Thursday, senior Andy Mattingly says the team has a lot to work on over the next month.
We need to work on just mentally getting to where we need to be, just knowing where we're supposed to be. We have a lot of young guys that haven't played that redshirted last year that are going to help us out a lot.
The Cougars will wrap up spring practice on April 25th with their 3rd and final scrimmage. Reporting for Cable 8 News, I'm Chris King. Coming up in sports, despite the wild weather, spring football practice continues for Paul Wolf and his squad. A former Coug basketball player gets some bad news today, and Tony Bennett gives his opinion on who should be his successor as the next WSU basketball coach. We'll have that and more in sports when Cable 8 News returns right after this. Well, it was no April Fool's joke yesterday. The Cougar football team held their 4th practice of the spring Wednesday, and it looked like one that should have been taking place in November. For only the 2nd time this spring, the Cougars donned their pads and participated in tackling drills. The snow started to fall at the beginning of practice and stuck, creating slick conditions at Rogers Field. Head coach Paul Wolf says the weather had an effect on the team's play at practice.
Today's conditions were okay initially, and then as we really tried to, the ball security became such an issue that it really kind of flattened practice out. And so we just got to be smart to make sure we're still getting functional work done.
Just 3 days after leaving for Virginia, former WSU coach Tony Bennett has offered up his advice on who should take his old job. Bennett told the Spokesman Review in an interview that he believes his lifelong friend and top Cougar assistant Ben Johnson would be a great choice to take over the program. Despite Bennett's recommendation, WSU Athletic Director Jim Sturck has already said that candidates must have Division I head coaching experience. ESPN's Andy Katz is reporting that Johnson is expected to go on and coach in Australia next season. Johnson previously played and coached professional basketball in Australia before coming to WSU. When it rains, it pours, and that has turned out to be the case for Cougar basketball this week. First, the news of Tony Bennett's departure, and now former Coug Kyle Weaver is being sent down to the NBA's Developmental League. Weaver, in his rookie year with the Oklahoma City Thunder, is averaging over 5 points per game and has appeared in 49 games this season, including 19 starts. Weaver was the 38th selection in last year's NBA draft. And finally, on a lighter note, earlier this week there was duck-on-duck violence in Eugene. 3 University of Oregon basketball players were detained at gunpoint for shooting BBs at real live ducks at a local pond. The 3 freshmen, Cedric Criddle, Michael Dunnigan, and Tiandre Williams, face a base fine of $155 for the violation. Police say the players shot around 20 BBs at the ducks, but fortunately, no waterfowl were injured during the incident. That's all for sports. Cable 8 News will return right after this.